Hey guys, welcome back to winter in South Carolina, where you never know if you're going to wake up and it's going to be a tank top day or a ski jacket day. It looks pretty dreary out here, but it is almost 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty darn warm. And needless to say, the plants are a little confused, but they are alive, and that is a positive. Well, everything that didn't die in all of the multiple freezes we've had is alive. And I'm thinking it's gonna get cold again pretty soon. You know, we're just like during the winter constantly on this roller coaster of warm, cold, which is why the brassicas are probably going to struggle, as they always do. But I think a lot of other stuff is actually gonna be fine. I haven't been out here in a while, so the first thing I'm gonna do is check and see if my garlic has started coming up yet. And I think, look at that. That looks like a garlic sprout to me, right there. Oh, there's another one. Right there. Nice. So, garlic is confirmed to be coming up right here underneath where the tomatoes are going to go in the spring. So that is really positive. And oh, this one, a lot of stuff is dead, but this one is a pea plant, which is supposed to be frost resistant, but apparently this one not so much. Let's see, right here at the front of the second row, the lavender actually is looking pretty good. You can see the tops look pretty fresh, like it's putting on new leaves recently. So that's a good sign. I was assuming that it would do better once everything around it died off and it started getting more sun. And if the garlic is sprouting, then right in here, pretty soon, we should start seeing some of my perennial onions come up. I think right in here I put potato onions, yeah. They're a multiplier onion. This is one of them right here. It doesn't look like it's grown yet, but if I feel it, it doesn't feel soggy, like it's rotting or anything. So that may or may not, I'm not actually sure if I'm expecting that to come up during the fall or if it's gonna wait until spring. Lettuce seems to be doing pretty good. It's one of those things, this one I think it's either Marvel of Four Seasons or Outrageous lettuce. But either way, it is taking the temperature swings like a champ and the crowding like a champ. Of course, all of these are volunteers, so they started out hardier than your average plant. But still, this is a great little salad patch that I've been eating from. Theoretically, there should be more garlic as we go down this way, and it should be near the center of the row. Ah, yes. That's a garlic right there. I guess they're just now starting to come up. We had like 3 days of rain in a row this past week. Things got pretty soggy, and it would be probably the first time that the garlic and onions and everything were watered after being planted, because I did not water them in when I put them in. They don't really need it. They'll just grow whenever the timing is right. All these little brassicas that I've put in, I can't remember if this is supposed to be a kohlrabi or a kale. They are doing decently well. They're at least growing, and I don't see like real signs of pests on them. Like there's something tried to take a bite out of it and then realized it was no good and kind of stopped. But they are a little stunted still, just from being left in their little seed starter containers too long. I've been thinking about whether or not I should start some more seeds for stuff like kale and spinach and try and get some of that stuff ready for like early spring, like January, February time. I might do it if I have the time. And I think it would probably be pretty good timing if I was to actually do it. But we'll see if that happens. Mostly in the middle of this row there would be garlic, and then of course I still have all of my dead peppers just kind of sitting around here. Occasionally, like some of this stuff over here I kind of broke up as I was walking through here to plant my garlics, but by and large I'm just kind of leaving this stuff here. It's not super in the way of anything right now, and like I've said before, these hollow stems can be really good habitat for beneficial insects over the winter. And then this section back here that was kind of randomly seeded is still kind of randomly growing. This rutabaga is getting honestly huge. I should think about pulling that pretty soon. There's another one here that's looking kind of sad, and I think this one is the only broccoli that survived out of all the ones that I planted over here. But we've also got some of the stuff that I seeded. This is dill, which is, you can see some of the stuff that got killed off when it got really cold. We were getting down into the teens, according to my weather station, for a little bit. And this is mustard. We've got a little bit of spinach here, some Merlot lettuce, that's this red one. This one I think is black-seeded Simpson. And what is that? That is a radish back there. Should probably pull that too. Actually, might as well do it while you guys are here so you can see. I think I might have let it go too long. It's kind of big, and it might have gotten kind of woody. A lot of these root vegetables, if you let them go too long, the inside starts to kind of hollow out and the flesh isn't as tender, and we call that pithy, P-I-T-H-Y, or woody, which makes more sense, I think. I'm gonna set this down here for a minute and also show you guys those little seedlings that I'm talking about being stunted. They came from here and they were about this size when I planted them out, so they're definitely bigger. And you can see these ones that are still stuck in the tray. They're not dying. I'm not taking care of them either. You can see they're kind of flooded from the rain, but they're not happy. You can see very clearly how unhappy they are, and it's just because their roots don't have room to spread out and they are running out of nutrients from this little bit of soil that they've got access to. And so it's kind of like, you know, maybe you were told as a kid that some fish will grow as big as their fish tank allows, and plants are very much the same way. They do have a maximum size, but their size is also very limited by the container that they are in. I'm back at the front to start on row 3, and I do want to take a second to show you the path carrots. These are my volunteers, and they're looking great. They're doing such a good job here in the path. And there's also a volunteer cilantro over here. I didn't even plant seeds anywhere near here, but I have at least a little bit of cilantro. The stuff that I planted on purpose did not come up, surprise, surprise. But the volunteers, doing healthy, doing great. In this whole section of the garden, I have planted some onions, some onion starts. I've been talking all year about transitioning away from annual onions into perennial onions, and I was not really planning on getting more annual onion starts, but I looked at the number of perennial onions that I planted, and even though they should be productive long term, I don't think that I can rely on them to make an entire year's worth of onions in their first year. I think I'm gonna have to multiply them out a little bit more and wait. So hopefully this is the last year that I will plant annual onions. I get my starts from Dixondale Farms, and I get short day onions. I have a whole video about choosing the right type of onion for your area if you're interested. But that one hasn't rooted yet, and I almost pulled it all the way up. Sorry, buddy. These got planted out like 2 or 3 days ago, right before the rain started. And, the rain was a happy accident. I didn't actually plan that, but if I was going to plant it, I would have planned it exactly like that, to plant them right before all this rain. So I've got some along the outside of these trellises and along the inside of the trellises. And the idea, if you look at how far away from the trellis they are, they're in a row out here. These won't be ready until midsummer. And so I'm going to be planting on this trellis before these are done. And that's why they're so far away, is so that I can plant something like right here and have it not be super competing with these onions. Here's the other row on the inside. There's a pretty good space in here for another plant to be on this trellis, and it will still be probably pretty young by the time that these onions need to come out. So I don't foresee very much competition here at all. Sometimes when I have a lot to say, I've noticed that I don't breathe properly, and sometimes even when I'm like standing still talking to you guys, if I'm excited enough about what I am saying, I start to sound like I'm out of breath, like I have started running or something. So maybe I need to slow down a little bit, but I am excited about the gardening stuff and I have a lot to say. I'm also noticing something very interesting with my fava beans. I never did come back and plant more, but I had a couple that did actually come up. And they do not take the super cold very well. Like, they will live through frosts and everything, obviously. But when it gets really cold, they start to look kind of dead. And then when it warms up again, like it has today, and it has, like, I guess the past couple of days, they start to look a little bit better. Like, this is new growth coming from the base of that fava bean. And even this, like, I think by the end of the season, I predict this stem will be like kind of black and dead looking, and then it will have green new growth near the tips. And my fava beans tend to do this like all the time. I just think it's very interesting little growth habit. So I've also got, here's the trellises, here's the cabbages. I've also got more onions coming right up the center here. Again, they are kind of where I'm going to be planting other stuff, but they shouldn't be too much in the way. And if we look at the Brussels sprouts and the cabbages, we're still seeing some good growth here. I think the cabbages actually look excellent. They could be a little bit bigger, but the leaves look good. I don't see anything chewing on them. Still, the two that look sad are continuing to look sad, and I think if I was going to cull them and cut them out, that wouldn't be such a bad idea, especially if I had something ready to plug in their place. And I think it's really interesting that it's just these two plants that look sick. Everything else looks super, super healthy. And I'm thinking, looking at these, I would like these to be at least twice as big before they start making Brussels sprouts for me. And if they're going to do that, I'm thinking at least a month on these, and maybe we can consider about a month on the cabbages as well. I've actually never grown a cabbage all the way from seed to head. And actually, now that I think about it, I didn't plant these seeds. I bought these started plants, but it still remains I've never gotten a cabbage out of my garden. And so I'm not as familiar with how long everything takes, but I am excited that these plants look so good. I'm back here at the end of this last row. I'm also pretty sure that I planted some potato onions like somewhere in this vicinity. I'm sure that they'll come up eventually. The grass in this area has kind of gotten out of hand. I probably need to come through and like either really heavily mulch or even like yank up all of this grass. It's such a big job to keep it from just like spreading into the garden. And I would like to find more like perennial type ground cover stuff to help choke it out. But we also have some good stuff growing in here. Some more lettuces and mustards. Some more little dills poking out. And I've got along the back here more of those onion starts planted. Let's see. I also, if you look close, have some of these onions that I had indoors, right, and had stored, and they started sprouting. And I went ahead and planted them in the ground, and they're already splitting and looking really healthy. At the very least, this is a source of onion greens for like garnishing or whatever. But also, like, you know, this will split and make a bunch of small onions. And that is, you know, also a very edible onion down there. It's not going to be a good storage onion, but it would be very edible. And these will also make seeds for me if I want to save seeds of these for next year. We can also take a quick look over here at the raised bed section. I am starting the process of refilling this bed. You can see it collapsed pretty hard on itself. Like, these holes were not really dug, they just kind of appeared because everything settled really hard. And so I've started filling over here. It looks like my cat has been digging over here actually. And I did this section first because I was starting to see the crowns of the asparagus like peek up above the soil, and I didn't really want that. But the plan is to fill everything up to about that height once I get to the store to get more soil, and then do wood chip mulch over the top of that for the winter. I think most everything in here is starting to go dormant for the winter. This marshmallow is so confused. Like, I think it would be dormant if it didn't keep like getting slightly warm. And so like this stuff near the bottom where it doesn't get quite as cold is like still trying to hang on and survive. And if we look at the carrots, this is maybe the thing that I will be harvesting the most over the coming weeks. It's still very dense in here. I've pulled a few out. Most of them are still like on the smaller side, but you know, they're decent sized carrots, and I can absolutely be starting to pull them now. I can pull all the biggest ones and maybe hope that the smaller ones then have the room to get a little bit bigger over the course of the winter. I can see a little bit of damage on these leaves from the cold. When they turn a little purple like that, that's them being a little bit upset about the cold. But overall, you can see the peas did not survive the cold. These things are not very cold hardy. And you can still see plenty of green in here. These are doing fine. This raised bed looks approximately the same. Everything that is tiny is still tiny. This one maybe looks like it's grown just a touch, but my hope for it keeps going down. I am not expecting to harvest literally anything out of this raised bed. I'm just kind of now watching to see if these actually continue to live. And speaking of really sad raised beds, this one still looks terrible, although carrots are still kind of doing all right in here. I'm thinking some of them might be actual harvestable size soon. And these would be the Auxhart carrots, the original spelling, ox like the animal heart. And that'll be cool, especially since they will be the first carrots I've ever grown from seeds that I saved myself. And these seeds sprouted so readily, very vigorous. So I bet they'll be not as good as they could, given the fact that they are absolutely growing in the soil that, you know, killed all of these other brassicas. But they're, I guess, a little bit more immune to whatever herbicide accidentally got mixed in with this soil than the brassicas were. And a quick check on the citrus over here. So I got some more chicken manure from my neighbors, and I kind of scattered it over the top of the wood chips here to kind of make a compost over the winter. This guy is the kumquat. You can see the little fruit it was making is just entirely dead by now. It's still got plenty of green leaves, so the plant is still alive, but you can see it's kind of unhappy, and I'm not sure if that's like cold related or water related. I know these guys technically don't like to have wet feet, and I have bundled up the mulch around the base of it, but also I'm kind of hoping to keep it just a touch warmer over the winter, because we're very much on the edge of what this plant is going to be able to actually survive. And this one down here is looking much worse. It is this is a lime quat, and every single leaf on it is dead looking. The stem still feels solid, like maybe it will be able to come back. I'm actually not very familiar with citrus. I don't know if it's supposed to go dormant like this in the winter and then grow back all its leaves like a normal tree. I'll have to Google that, but yeah, this currently is not a great sign. The mint is absolutely loving this weather though. We haven't checked in on it in a minute, but this one, which got like really tall and pale over the summer, is coming back from the roots and doing the thing mint does, where it puts out all these runners. And they all look super healthy. We've got some really dark green, nice looking mint coming up in here. And this one, which is my favorite one, which I thought I had killed with the bad soil, it is actually not dead. It is seemingly unkillable. I might try and take a cutting of it and plant it in fresh soil this spring and see if I can't revive it. This is a chocolate mint, and it is, I think it's just the tastiest mint that I've ever grown. It's so good. So before I go, I do want to let you know that I am taking next week off for Christmas to go celebrate the holidays, and we'll see if I end up having time to film a video the week after that. But if it's not that week, then it'll definitely be in the new year. So if I don't catch you before then, happy holidays, happy new year and all that, and I hope that you guys have a good break. So until then, I wish you all happy gardening.